All right. Begin transmission in three, two, one. All right. Okay. I've been meaning to do this for the longest time, and I'm getting really irritated at myself for putting it off for so long. And now that we're literally down to the wire and there's one day left, I might as well do it now or it's never going to happen. So it's now or never. Okay, here we go. Here are my election predictions on the final day. I meant to do this 6 months ago, a year ago even. As soon as I or 3 months, as soon as I realized Trump was going to be the nominee. I initially thought there was no way he's going to get over 210. I think he has a chance now. I even think he has a chance to win the election. That really, really, really hopelessly hopeful part of me. But let's be realistic. It's in the stars. The election is rigged. Hillary's going to win, no matter what. Now, I'm a bit OCD and superstitious. Everything that I felt had to happen before a certain time period in my day, certain things like view counts on certain pages or something, and stats on IMDb or whatever, would have to reach a certain point by now. None of the things that I feel needed to happen in order for me to think that Trump could confidently win have happened. And everybody knows the election is rigged, and all electronic voting machines are going to flip at least one of every 7 non-Clinton votes in favor of Clinton. I just know it. So it's pretty much written in the stars whether we like it or not. I mean, I would like to believe Styx, Hex, and Hammer, his analysis is right, that yeah, I follow Styx, Hex, and Hammer. It's what's keeping my hope up lately, and I know it's silly. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm kind of hoping that not the power of God, but the power of mayhem will actually overcome all the vote rigging somehow, and that many people will turn up. There really are that many closet ghost Trump supporters out there. I would have been one of them, but I am not confident that he can win. So much so that I just don't feel comfortable with it anymore. I told myself that I would make myself register as an independent before I would vote for Trump, if I would. And I haven't done that yet. I just don't want to be tied to a party that's going down in flames. I don't want to be on a political Hindenburg or a sinking Titanic. I will likely vote third party, or maybe abstain altogether. But yeah, I've finally decided that I'm going to vote who I believe most represents my views in this election out of all the people. All the candidates are terrible. I wanted to vote for Gary Johnson a while. Just like Styx, Hex, and Hammer, I realize he's not a true libertarian. He's a moron. He's made a lot of mistakes. I personally think he is helping Trump, and he is taking votes away from Hillary more than Trump. And I think there might be, I have a conspiracy theory, there might be some collusion going on between them in spite of the fact they seem to hate each other. But in all honesty, hope beyond hope on hope, hoping to mayhem over a divine intervention that something drastically unusual could happen. I don't see it having any significant effect on this election. My real thoughts and analysis are that Trump will do a lot better than people are saying he will, but he still won't win. Oh yes, he will win states that haven't been won by that haven't won Republican in a long time, but that won't be enough to win the election. This will be the first time in 36 years since 1980 that a Republican has won Iowa in the race to the White House in an open election. That much I can guarantee you. Here is why. I reside in that state. I will not say any more than that. Only state I know of for sure where Trump has the full support of both United States senators, the governor, and at least a couple of United States congressmen. Reluctantly so, but it's enough to give him a big swing there. And he's had this momentum for several months now. He's managed to stay ahead of Hillary in this one particular state. Iowa makes a big deal out of the issue of illegal immigration, and we have Congressman Steve King to thank for that, who is often accused of being a racial pariah and is infamously known. There are a lot of things he believes in, that there are a lot of views that he stands and stances that he takes that I disagree with, but I do admire his position on immigration. Even as a libertarian, I don't identify with the libertarian platform position of open borders. I will never understand that, and I think the Libertarian Party is doomed until the leadership of the party gets their heads out of their asses about the reality that open borders cannot work in the world as it is set up today. It just can't. Maybe someday in some distant, unlikely utopian future, but it is not viable in today's world. That is just the reality, and that is the fact, and that is the one thing libertarians have to understand and get through their head right now, or they're never going to get anywhere politically in the modern world. It's just a reality that borders have to exist. It's as simple as that. As much as I may dislike guys like Steve King, and as much as Donald Trump disgusts and annoys me with some of his more outrageous rhetoric, he is right on one thing, and it's respecting the rule of law and respecting a country's borders and understanding what they exist for. Now, I personally think there's a possibility that Trump is just trolling everybody and that he's a Hillary plant. I haven't even ruled that out yet. But I think even if that were true, that he could be elected against his own will, even if he's trying to get Hillary elected. And I think electing a guy that would abide by Hillary's will, but would be easier to control because nobody wants to do what he wants to do. He will have opposition in the House. He will have opposition in the Senate. Sargon of Akkad, Carl already made a fucking video on this, and I've been wanting to talk about this for months now. Trump will never fucking get anything done. Everybody's so afraid of what he'll do. We will have a gridlock government, like we have always had. It will make things more stable. It will be irritating for a while, but it'll make things easier and simpler, and people will get by. Our economy might go straight to hell. That's the worst thing I can guarantee will happen. But at least we'll be stable, and we won't have to worry about any of the we won't have to worry about Trump going berserk like Clinton seems like Hillary does every 5 fucking seconds. She absolutely terrifies me. We have no idea what the hell she's going to do apart from start more wars when she's in office and try to ban guns if she's successful. Anyway, I'll start right now. I know out of all the swing states, Iowa is a sure thing, Ohio is a sure thing. I thought very recently Florida was for a while, but I'm kind of giving up hope on that. Now I think North Carolina, I ultimately think that it's going to be 290. I think Hillary over Trump, 294, 244. That's my final analysis. All the media polls are saying she's going to win 352. I don't think she's going to get above 300. I really don't. I don't see it happening. I don't think Trump is going to get anywhere near 270, but I don't think Hillary is going to get to 300. She's going to just be below 300. Now, let's get started with the elementary states that we know are going to swing, obviously, one way or another. Okay, let's start with Minnesota. Of course, that's going to go blue. There were signs it was going to go. There were signs it was going to become in play for a while, and I would like to believe once in my lifetime, the state that hasn't gone red since before I was born would. But yeah, it might have some real strong socially conservative exclaves and a few nutters like Michelle Bachmann in it, who was from Iowa originally. But we all know that Minnesota is one of the bluer states. It's still less blue than others, and it has potential to swing, but just not enough so to really even be worth mentioning. And of course, we have California, and the bluest of blue states in this election cycle, apparently, Maryland, which hasn't gone Republican since old Bush and Reagan. And D.C., all 100% Democrat. Hawaii, well, not 100%, but, only 2 times in its state's history has it swung Republican. And for the elementary red states, of course, we have, well, this time around, what used to be an elementary red state, McMullen is doing something strange with, but I still think it's going to go red. As much as I despise and loathe McMullen and believe that he truly is a Hillary plant, more so than I could ever believe Trump has been, I think it's going to stick red. But I say the reddest of red states right now is obviously West Virginia. Appalachia. That's something that needs to be brought up here. Appalachia is going to have a huge influence on this election. It is the people of Appalachia and the mindset, the coal mining industry, and people of that part of the country that is the one area that has been trending more Republican than any place else over the past few election cycles. Normally Texas is more red, but this time I think West Virginia, I should say red in terms of more Trump red, not Republican red. But West Virginia, Yeah, Wyoming. Alaska looked like it was in play for a while, but I think it's going to go red. Texas, no matter how many angry Hispanics live in Texas, it's still going to go red. I thought Louisiana would be in play. I thought Hillary would win Louisiana because I thought people were so angry with Bobby Jindal, and Bobby Jindal's endorsement of Trump would just make it easier for the Democrats to take Louisiana. Probably not happening. Arkansas really fucking hates the Clintons. No surprise there. Oklahoma is probably the reddest of red states since they pretty much ban anybody but Republicans and for anybody from running against the Republicans except the Democrats, except in this one instance they've been vehemently anti-third party, and that has given them a very bad scar on their state's reputation, but they were decent enough to allow Gary Johnson full ballot access this time, thus finally allowing 50 states to be available to at least one of the third-party candidates for the first time in a number of election cycles. So there you go, Oklahoma. You did one thing right for a change. And Arkansas, hate the Clintons. They know them better than anybody else, of course. I already said Louisiana. Thought Mississippi might be in play because the South has been trending more towards Democrat, but I think it's going to stay red for now. Everybody said, Georgia looked like it was in question big time. Of course, I know South Carolina. Kentucky, Rand Paul territory. I wish that Rand Paul would have ran for president. I wish the Senate there hadn't screwed him over. The fucking Democrats in Kentucky are probably the reason why Hillary is going to be our next president. Because if Rand Paul had ran against Hillary, and if Rand Paul had stayed in, he'd held it out as long as Ted Cruz. I believe he could have beaten Donald Trump, even if the Republicans didn't like Rand Paul very much. They probably thought he was more establishment than Trump. And if everything that has happened in the past week, in the past month, all the WikiLeaks that had come out against Hillary, if that had happened anyway, I wasn't even sure Rand Paul could beat Hillary because I believe the election is that badly rigged and that Hillary is pretty much that signed on and set to win. I believe that if everything that has happened in the past couple of weeks and Rand Paul did well enough in the debates that happened, Rand Paul would beat Hillary over 300. Easy. I believe Rand Paul would have gotten to 300 easy, and the Democrats and the establishment, everyone in power wouldn't have seen it coming. A lot of people are saying that Rand Paul couldn't beat Hillary. Jeb Bush has a better chance of beating Hillary. Are you fucking kidding me? I literally saw people doing hypothetical electorates back when around this time last year, when Jeb Bush was still running. Everybody thought that Jeb Bush was the one guy that could beat. Are you fucking kidding me? No Bush would ever beat Hillary. No Bush would ever beat a Democrat. The only way I could see Bush winning is if Hillary literally vomited on stage, urinated herself, shat herself, and quoted all the lines of Forrest Gump while drunk, and then shot herself in the head twice with a .22 caliber machine pistol, and continued dancing and shitting herself on stage. Even then, she would still probably beat Jeb Bush. But I think he'd have a little edge there. But no Bush is ever going to win an election for the rest of American history. It's not going to happen. They might win Florida and the Deep South, Jeb Bush specifically, but I don't see Bush as ever beating a Democrat. Never again. So just scratch that thought and stop, people letting yourselves believe that the Bushes can win anything. They are the most hated family in the state of Iowa right now. There's like the original Bush. One time Bush was liked was in 1980 when he won the Iowa caucuses, and then his son, when the whole country was kind of desperately screeching and screaming, nervously thinking about the war on terror in 2004 that just got Bush reelected. Basically, 9/11 got Bush reelected, and it's as simple as that. And it was still close in Iowa. In any other circumstance, Bush would not have won Iowa. He may have won re-election, but he would not have won Iowa in 2004 had it not been for the Swift boat scandal against John Kerry and everybody's concerns over the war on terror and basically 9/11 propaganda. Just everybody freaking out over 9/11. So now let's just get back on track here. I'm dragging on way longer than I should. Okay. Of course, Indiana, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. Yeah, it's gonna go red. Now, these are all... I thought Missouri was in play. I really did. Kansas, of course. Nebraska. North and South Dakota, definitely. Montana and Idaho. I thought Missouri might go blue. I thought with Trump running against Clinton, Missouri might go blue this time, but I'm thinking probably not. So I'm basically going to allow Missouri to remain a safe red state. And as hard as it is to believe, everybody thinks Arizona's in play. Probably not. Evan McMullin doesn't look like he's going to win Utah, even, with as well as he's doing. I think Utah's still going to go red. So, there, we have all the elementary, basic, safe red states. And that's pretty much it. That is an automatic 191 for Trump. Now, out of all the swing states that I think Trump has the best shot in, ones that I think are certain to go red, of course, number 1, Iowa, and then Ohio. And that's pretty much it. I do think Maine has a chance of I do think that. Yeah, I do think Maine is gonna throw their one extra congressional district towards Trump, and Nebraska is probably safe. The full state at large is probably safe. Now, North Carolina, I was thinking Florida for a while. For the longest time, I thought Florida was safe. I knew Trump was going to get near 240. Somewhere around 240, and I think that's what it's going to be. And I'm not so sure now. Today, I'm thinking, because Appalachia is a bigger deal than anything else in this election, I think this is the way it's going to look. I'm not happy with 231. I would like to believe 240 more than 231, but I think that's the way it's going to go. And the rest will most assuredly go, and the rest will most assuredly go blue. There was a time I thought Oregon might be in play. Nevada might go red. I'm going to say blue. New Mexico, obviously blue. Colorado, I'm going to say blue. Virginia, well, and there's the obvious. And, yeah, safe blue, safe blue, safe blue, safe blue, safe blue. Some people think New Hampshire. Now, this is the most important one of the whole thing. It was funny. There was, Delaware, safe blue. There was even a time where it almost looked like New Jersey was in play. It's not. Not now, anyway. And now people are thinking Wisconsin and Michigan are in play. Yeah. Sticks, Hex, and Hammer actually thinks Michigan is in play. It's not. I just don't see it happening. Wisconsin would be more likely than Michigan. That's just what my gut instinct says. And, of course, Virginia. Now, Florida and Pennsylvania. These are pretty damn big deals. It could be down to those two. I really think that the outcome of this election would be decided by if these two states won. It looks like it would be just about that would be just about it if it went like this. Obviously, see 280. I don't think that's going to happen. I think what we're most likely to see is something either like this, with Trump making it to 270, or just 231. I think it's going to be either I said 260. That was stupid. 260 or 231. It's going to be one or the other. It depends on whether he wins Florida or not. And I'm pretty much giving up hope on Florida because it stayed blue for too long. And I was thinking North Carolina wouldn't even go blue either because it stayed blue for so long. But now it's trending red pretty harshly. And again, Appalachia, it's a big deal. Appalachia will decide whether Trump at least gets close. And yeah, I already said Clinton wouldn't get above 300. It looks like she would in this scenario, but that's only because I've given up hope in Florida. So yeah, let's throw it to New Hampshire to make myself feel better, and Nevada, so I can at least think I was somewhat right. This is my most optimistic at this point. This is my most optimistic outlook. This really is. I don't see it being any better than this. I do think there is a possibility of Florida, but I'm pretty much throwing that one out with the trash right now. Oh, my most optimistic, my least optimistic would be this. 216 to 245, somewhere in there. All right. Well, that's about all. This is Val Devour Says, and this has been my election analysis. I will give you an episode of my hypothetical election analysis of all the other possible candidates versus Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton in my next video. So until next time, this is Val Devour says, end transmission in 3, 2, 1. Okay, I almost forgot to mention I screwed up a whole bunch of times and embarrassed myself there. As I said, this is one of my first political analysis videos. I almost forgot to mention who I'm going to vote for. Darrell Castle. And I say him because I feel after having studied all the major third-party candidates, I feel that Darrell Castle fits the criteria of libertarian more appropriately than, say, Gary Johnson does, at least this time around. Even though I have some disagreements with the Constitutionalist Party on some things, it seems like with Castle, they're at least trying to move in a more actual, literal constitutional direction instead of being subjective about it and injecting biblical scripture into everything, which is one unfortunate fact that the Constitutionalist Party of the United States has known tendency of doing. They tend to be more theocratic than actual constitutionalists, but they are still less authoritarian or theocratic than a lot of the gibbering mainstream of the GOP and the general political class that likes pandering, those amongst the right that like pandering to people on the far right. Yeah. And for a second reason, as I said before, I would only vote for Trump if I were a registered independent by election day, or at least had undertaken the proper efforts and channels in doing so, which I haven't yet done because I keep procrastinating, and I'm hitting myself over the head for that. And I feel like the only way I could feel comfortable with voting for Donald Trump, as I've said already, is if I were a registered independent, so I wouldn't feel like I'm tying myself to the sinking boat. That's basically all it is. I know it's a very superficial argument, but that's the way I feel about it. But of course, this is mostly my own fault for procrastinating so long and not getting myself re-registered and everything else. Anyway, yeah, I'll be voting third party, and it'll be for constitutionalist candidate Darrell Castle today as election day as of the time I get this little addend added to the end of the video. So that was just a little addendum that I want to throw in there before I close the video. And anything that I want to edit and add later, I'll change again when this becomes an archival, because the election will be long over by the time I get a chance to upload a proper version of this. So once again, and for the second time, signing off, ending transmission in 3, 2, 1.